After Team USA figure skating captured gold, the focus now turns to heated rivalries in the individual events. Who is peaking at the right moment and who is holding back their biggest moves for medal night?
Of course, Ilia Malinin from the US, he's got everybody talking with his backflips. A note on that, he is the first person to legally land a backflip at the Olympics in 5 decades, but he's not the only one to have ever done it.
Plus, NPR's science team is here to break down what makes figure skating one of the most technical sports of the games, and I get a lesson of my own.
So if I were to spin in this chair,
you're gonna try it?
Right, I'm making rotational momentum, and I'm like the Earth, spinning her up. It's axis too.
And the U.S. women's snowboarding pipeline is stacked. We have the names to watch for as competition gets underway. I'm A Martínez, and this is Up First, Winter Games. It's Tuesday, February 10th, and here's what you need to know. The U.S. women's hockey team continues to shut out the competition, beating Switzerland Monday 5-0. 5 different Americans scored in the win. Next, they'll face Canada, which could be an early preview of the gold medal game. We're hearing from Lindsey Vonn now for the first time since that crash that ended her Olympic comeback. Now, posting on Instagram, the 41-year-old says that she'll need multiple surgeries after suffering a complex fracture to her left leg. Still, she says, she has no regrets and that, quote, standing at the starting gate was an incredible feeling that I will never forget. It was a razor-thin start to the Olympic ice dance. Round 1 of the individual competition turned into a high-stakes 90s throwback complete with sequins, boy bands, and a leaderboard separated by less than half a point. U.S. favorites and reigning world champs Madison Chock and Evan Bates skated strong but finished the night just behind the French team, trailing by about 0.4 of a point. The Americans are firmly in reach of the podium, but things are shaping up for an epic battle on the ice Wednesday. NPR's Rachel Treisman has been watching it all. So, Rachel, tell us about Chock and Bates.
Sure. So you've probably heard a lot about them already, not just because they're the 7-time reigning U.S. champions, but because they're married in real life. They have amazing chemistry on the ice, off the ice, amazing outfits that Chock makes herself. This is their 4th Olympics together, but they haven't won an individual ice dance medal yet. They came in 4th just off the podium in Beijing. So that's what everyone is hoping to see this year.
It's one of the most amazing dynamics to me, Rachel, when a couple at this level in sports are also competing and married. I mean, where do they draw the line? There has to be a line at some point, right? When a married couple is competing in a sporting event.
Yeah, ice dance also, for the record, is a lot of couples and siblings, which is a very interesting dynamic. I had the same question for Chock and Bates, and I actually asked them back at a media event in October, and they just talked about how it really makes their partnership stronger in both places. They seem to be very happy with each other on and off the ice, so I have to believe them.
Good. I mean, they're successful, right? So maybe both things are successful. Now tell us about how they did.
They did really well. They finished the night. They were the last skaters of the night. They finished really strong. They had a super fun, sultry program set to Lenny Kravitz. We'll get into that. But they finished just a hair of a point behind their main competition, or what many are seeing as their main competitors, which are this French pairing of Guillaume Cizeron and Laurence Fournier-Baudry.
So tell us about them. What's the competition like?
Sure. So Baudry and Cizeron, and pardon my French, are a very interesting pairing because they've only been together for a year, and yet they still managed to make it to the Olympics. They're facing controversy because of their former partners. In Cizeron's case, his former partner just published a tell-all book accusing him of controlling behavior, which he denies. He's calling that a smear campaign. And in Baudry's case, her former ice dance partner is banned from the sport right now because of allegations of sexual maltreatment, which he denies and is fighting.
And last night there was a theme to the whole event.
Last night there was a theme. So actually every year in rhythm dance, which is one of the ice dance competitions, there is a musical theme. And this year, I think we really lucked out. The theme was music from the 1990s.
Oh, wow.
So the playlist was awesome. The outfits were awesome. There was a lot of crimped hair. I would say more sequins than usual, or at least in different places. Patterns, denim. It was awesome. I heard at least 2 George Michael songs, a lot of Backstreet Boys, Madonna. The crowd was really loving it too.
Yeah. You know what? I was thinking, if I ever had to do something like this, what song would I choose? If it had to be a 90s song, it'd be PM Dawn. I Die Without You, because I can completely see myself, moving with the music, putting my arms up and down. And then when the beat starts, then I can kind of get into the athleticism part of the whole thing.
I would love to see that.
I know I put that mental picture in your head, Rachel. I'm sorry for that.
I wish there was a way that we could illustrate it for everyone, but I think the crowd would go wild for that, eh?
Yeah, the things I lack, though, talent, ability, athleticism. So, yeah, I couldn't do it if I tried. Now, so tell us what the difference is between ice dancing and pairs.
Sure, I learned this myself pretty recently. So ice dance, think of it more as ballroom dancing. It's really not about being thrown in the air or spinning around as many times as possible. It's much more about how in sync you are with the music and with your partner. So one of the big moves that you'll hear commentators talking about are twizzles. That's sort of like when you travel across the rink side by side, spinning in total unison, or ideally in total unison with your partner. Pairs, which is a different discipline, is more of the like acrobatics that you're thinking of when the guy is lifting the girl overhead on just one arm or holding her hand while she spins around on the ice really, really close to it. That I learned is called a death spiral. So you all will get to see that when the pairs competitions start. That's this weekend.
If they could ever combine like that death spiral with, say, RuPaul and, Supermodel and then a death drop, all that, can you imagine if that was all combined into one performance?
The names are all really interesting. I want to do a little more research into where they come from, because a lot of figure skating moves are named after people, and then there's the death spiral. So
I know, yeah, danger, right? Because if they fall, all of a sudden, there's a lot of danger attached to it. So tell us about what's coming up with the men tonight.
Right, so we've already seen some of the men take the ice in the team event, including, of course, Ilia Malinin from the US. He's got everybody talking with his backflips. A note on that, he is the first person to legally land a backflip at the Olympics in 5 decades, but he's not the only one to have ever done it. So you can read more about that in my newsletter or online. We've seen Ilia perform. There are a bunch of other great skaters, I think 29 of them in the short program that we can look out for. So of course there are other Americans, Max Naumov and Andrew Torgashev. There are really incredible Japanese skaters, including Yuma Kageyama, who actually placed ahead of Malinin in the first day of the team event. Some of the others that I'm really excited to see are Kevin Amos of France. He has a Lady Gaga routine. Of course, I think everyone's going to be really happy to see the Spanish skater who has risen to fame with Minion Gate. He's going to finally get to do his Despicable Me program. And then another name that I think should be on people's radar is Matteo Rizzi. He performed in the team event this weekend, and he helped Italy win bronze. And his routine was so dynamic that the crowd was honestly losing their minds before he even finished. Really excited to see him on home ice, and I think he'll be fun to watch even on TV.
Now, Rachel, before you go, I want to ask you about a Canadian figure skater, Madeline Skeezes. She's a student, and she had homework to do at the Olympics.
Relatable. She did have homework to do. I think she didn't realize the deadline was going to fall right on top of this other huge deadline in her life. And so she emailed her professor for an extension and attached proof of her inclusion in the Olympic roster as evidence that she wasn't just, faking it, trying to get out of the assignment.
Did she get the extension?
She did, and I think she for sure won over a new fan, because her professor has been posting online in support, and she's been reposting. I think it worked out pretty well for her.
Can you imagine, Rachel, if the professor said, sorry, nothing I can do, a deadline's a deadline? I
think when you have the PDF attachment of your name on the Olympic list, they have to give you at least a day, right?
At least, right? And Canadians are nice. Of course you would have done it. That's NPR's Rachel Treisman. And Rachel, thank you very much for this information.
Of course. Nice talking to you.
As the snowboarding halfpipe kicks off, the U.S. women's team looks exceptionally strong. And here to tell us what and who to look for is Josh Sullivan of NPR member station WUNC in North Carolina. Josh, I see a snowboard right behind you. That can't be a coincidence. I think we got the right person for this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, This is the most important thing in my life a lot of days of the year. And every 4 years, it's kind of my own personal Super Bowl when everyone else decides to tune in. So thanks for having me. Excited to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this event in the Olympics and just, give us a primer on what people can expect to see.
Definitely. So there's a bunch of different disciplines, slope style, border cross, but half pipe, and in particular, women's half pipe is what most Americans are going to be the most interested in, I think. Chloe Kim, she's one of the best half pipe riders of all time. Soon to be the best half pipe rider of all time. She's trying to win her 3rd straight gold medal in these Olympics. And the team is pretty stacked behind her. But one particular story I'm interested in is the story of Maddie Shafrick. Maddie was a child prodigy. She was on the U.S. team when she was younger, got really burned out and quit the team at the age of 20. Tried plumbing, decided to get into the trades. That didn't really work out. Snowboarding drew her back in, and now she's at her first games. She's in Italy right now, and she's going to try and get on that podium.
She tried plumbing, which actually makes sense if her event is the half pipe, right?
I mean, that joke's been made a few times before.
Okay,
for sure.
good. Much better than me, that way I just did it, I think.
She acknowledges people love that part of the story. The plumbing era of her life was very short, very brief.
Okay.
But she needed something to do when she moved back home to Steamboat Springs, Colorado. She didn't have a college education. She didn't really think about a career path ahead of her. She decided to give the trades a try. And then she decided to coach some youth riders at Steamboat Resort for a free season pass. And she got roped all the way back in. And that's kind of the short of how she ended up here today.
All right, nice. So tell us a little bit more about some of her teammates that we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, so this is a really tough team to make. We have Chloe Kim right at the top. She's the best Olympic half-pipe rider for women ever. She has been adding tricks to her arsenal year after year, and she's also specialized in half pipe, and so that allows her to really progress the discipline even more. Behind her, we have Maddie Mastro. This is going to be Maddie's third Olympics. She hasn't yet medaled, but she's definitely a favorite. She's been really, really competitive. She won an FIS Crystal Globe last year, and really the big thing for her, I talked to her last year, and she's really switched up her mindset. She's a really fierce competitor. You obviously have to be an Olympian, but she's trying to have more fun with it. She said the competitiveness of contest snowboarding really kind of killed her drive and didn't allow her to perform at her best in previous contests. So she's really switched up. She's in Italy. She's trying to have as much fun as possible. Hopefully that ends her up on the podium. And then we have B. Kim, no relation to Chloe Kim. She's only 19 years old. She actually just celebrated her birthday about 2 weeks ago. And to make this team full of powerhouses as a 19-year-old is super impressive. And I wouldn't write her off at all. She's got a good deep bag of tricks. She is recovering from a shoulder injury, but she's going to be really exciting to watch too. And she's kind of the future.
All right, so we've talked a lot about Team USA, and they obviously do have a great team lined up. Tell us about some international competitors that might make it tough for them to win gold.
Definitely. I mean, everybody in snowboarding is kind of looking toward Japan. Japan really beefed up their program in the last few years. Sena Tomita has been a powerhouse. She's going to be pretty tough to take down. Mitsuki Ono is another big name that you're going to have to watch out for. And Gaon Choi, she's from Korea. She's been doing really, really well in the Snow League, which is a professional half-pipe contest. It's going to be really hard to take down some of these other riders. Chloe is projected to kind of be at the top of the podium, but she's also coming back from a labrum injury in her shoulder. Kind of a best-case scenario if you're going to get hurt right before the games, but an injury nonetheless. So it's going to be a battle, and that definitely opens up a little bit of room for someone to sweep in. That might be a little underrated and kind of surprise people.
All right, tell us now about Snowboard Cross. I love the name of this event, Snowboard Cross.
Totally. So think of it like motocross, right? Like dirt bikes, you're on a bicycle, BMX, except you're on a snowboard. It's different than alpine snowboarding. Alpine is bashing gates, kind of you think like traditional ski racing. Snowboard cross is jumps, bumps, tables, and it's a race downhill, 4 at a time, usually.
Wow.
And it's really cool. It's kind of the purest. A lot of people will say it's the purest form of snowboarding because sometimes to pass someone, you need to get airborne. You need to jump up in the air and pass over someone. A lot of eyes are going to be on Nick Baumgartner. He's in his 40s. I won't do him a disservice of telling you exactly how old he is, but I will say there's a huge age gap between him and the youngest person on the team. It's also the first event that combines both men and women. You'll have mixed snowboard cross, combined snowboard cross. And so that's how he won his gold last year with teammate Lindsey Jacobellis. Lindsey's coming off of having a child, and so she won't be at the Olympics, but Faye Tellen, formerly known as Faye Galini, she is going to be at her 5th games as well, and she's looking for her first medal. I rode with her earlier this year, and she was basically saying to come out of retirement, winning a medal would be awesome, right? Everyone wants to win a medal, but really she couldn't not show her children. She still had something in the tank, but kind of put it off and decided not to go for it. So she's there. She's trying to set a really good example for her children, and hopefully along the way that ends her up on the podium as well.
Josh, if someone's in their 40s competing against 20-somethings, I want to know about it because they become my automatic new hero. I mean, right? It's just a tough thing to do the older you get.
Yeah, snowboarding especially. I mean, when you slam hard, and I'm in my 30s, and it hurts a lot harder when I fall as it did even 5 years ago. So there's a lot of big age gaps. Louis Vito, who formerly rode for Team USA, he's up there in age. Sorry, Louis, and he's going to be riding for Team Italy this year, the host country. And so there's going to be a few names out there that you might recognize that are just like unable to give it up, and they're looking for Olympic glory one more time.
Josh, you mentioned that you're in North Carolina, where snowboarding is actually getting really popular, if it hasn't been already for a while. Tell us about how that happened.
Totally. Well, I think that it's been popular for a while. It's just that the rest of us are finding out about it.
Yeah.
I moved down to North Carolina 4 years ago. Its burgeoning snowboard scene is actually a big contributor as to why I decided to move from New England. A few people, one of who almost made the Olympic team. His name is Luke Winkleman. He was close. He was coming back from an injury. But him and another rider called Zeb Powell really putting the state on the map. Although if you ask them, they're just kind of like furthering the spotlight that's been shown on the state. Its mountains are smaller, shorter vertical drop. But if you want to snowboard in North Carolina, you have to love it, and you have to have a really burning passion for it. And the scene here, it's shorter. It's smaller, but it's deeper. Those who love it really love it, and they fully commit their lives to it.
All right, that's WUNC's Josh Sullivan. Josh, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Support for Up First Winter Games comes from NPR sponsor Allianz Travel Insurance. Get ready to give ordinary the cold shoulder with protection for adventures that give you the best kind of chills. Learn more at allianztravelinsurance.com.
They call him the Quad God, and that's because Team USA men's figure skater Ilia Malinin can do something on skates that no one has done in competition before. 4.5 full rotations in the air before landing on a blade barely 1/8 of an inch wide. Now, some call it magic, and it may look like that, but it's actually a master class in physics. Here's our conversation with Emily Kwong, host of NPR's Shortwave podcast. All right, Emily, you host NPR's Shortwave podcast, the science podcast. So what are the physics behind the quad jump?
Let's start with some fundamentals.
All right.
The spin.
The
Do
spin.
you figure skate? Have you attempted a spin on ice?
No, but when I was a boy, I would be like Linda Carter and try to spin thinking I could turn into Wonder Woman and get some superpowers.
Maybe one day that will happen
Is that
for
the same
you.
kind of deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
All a spin is, it's a change of direction,
Yeah.
and you need to create what's called angular momentum.
Okay.
Some people call it rotational momentum, and it's like related to the shape and mass of the skater and how fast they're moving about an axis. So if I were to spin in this chair,
You're gonna try it?
right, I'm making rotational momentum, and I'm like the Earth spinning around its axis too.
Yeah. Okay. So when the Earth spins on its axis, I mean, that's what we're talking about. Exactly like that.
Yeah.
That's what a skater is doing, essentially.
Yes, but first they need to generate something called torque.
Torque. What's torque?
Well, you have cars, I assume. Have you heard
Yes.
torque in that
One or
sense?
two.
Yeah, like in car land, it's like the force required to start the engine and that rotation. In physics, it's the force required to make something rotate. And for that, you need a lever. The longer, the better. So think about a wrench, right?
Okay.
The longer the wrench is, the easier it is to loosen the nut.
Yeah.
And the same applies for a skater. If you watch them as they go into a spin, their leg becomes their lever. It stretches out really far, a little off to the side before the spin, and then they generate that kick, that torque, which allows them to change direction and create that rotational momentum. And to show you this, here's a clip from my queen, Michelle Kwong, at the 1998 National Championships.
All right, let's watch.
So here she is. She goes, and you see her leg.
Oh,
you see
yeah,
her
there
leg?
it is. It's all the way out.
And then just the skill, the artistry, she makes it look so effortless. Watch her change directions with her other leg. See how the lever is creating the torque that allows her to spin?
Yeah. So, okay. So does she speed up when she brings the leg in? It looks like that's kind of what's going on there.
Yes. Yeah. So artistic as it seems, there's physics at work. She is playing around with her moment of inertia. That just describes like how the mass of a skater is distributed relative to the axis of a spin. So when you pull your arms out really far, your moment of inertia is really big. But as Michelle draws her arms closer to her body, her mass gets concentrated at her center and her moment of inertia shrinks And then that's when her spinning accelerates. You can see her pulling in and pulling out to mess with her speed and create that beautiful choreography that she's known for.
That's always the exciting part when a skater is doing the spin, when they're out and it gets faster and faster and faster. It's just an amazing part of this whole thing.
And the sound, that's kind of my favorite part of the sport.
So how do they go then from spinning to jumping?
That's a whole other bag of chips because like similar physics are at work. You got angular momentum, you got torque. But then the skater has to like somehow turn themselves into a projectile.
Yeah.
Like they're a ball and they're the quarterback. They're like hurling themselves in the air, right? So for that, like a gymnast, they need to generate upward velocity. Whatever vertical velocity they can create with the strength of their bodies is going to decide how high and how far they jump. And the moment they're airborne, they need to get themselves into that rotating position to complete as many rotations as possible. And that's where you hear like double axel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those terms. How do those terms come about?
It's like how many rotations they can complete.
Okay.
So our friend Ilia Malinin, the quad god.
I love that nickname
as he's
too.
Called.
That's an amazing nickname too.
So how is he doing those 4.5 rotations, you ask? Let's watch him at the games where he made his mark, the 2022 International Skating Union Grand Prix. This is the first time, there you are.
So smooth,
a quad
but
axle
has
was
to be
landed.
so difficult, right? I mean, it's got to be.
And he does 5 in this performance, in this free skate. It's astonishing. So you saw how he pulled his arms really tight. He made his moment of inertia as small as possible to give himself as many rotations in the air for the time he had up in the air.
And just to be clear, this is in competition too. It's not like it's in practice where you can make mistakes and you can fall, but he actually did it. Yeah.
He got one chance to do each of those 5 quads.
5 rotations. My goodness.
Or to each of those 4. He got one chance to do
4 rotations,
4.5 rotations.
So how about this? 5. Is that something that's possible? Because if he can do 4.5, I mean, why not 5?
I love the ambition that you're bringing to this question. No skater has yet done a quintuple jump in competition. And I asked a scientist who studies biomechanics, who has looked at the movement of figure skaters since grad school, Deborah King at Ithaca College, about this. And she said, listen, unless there's some kind of rules change or some special equipment that comes along that makes skaters able to achieve extra special speed or strength on the ice, the human body has its limits. Like, you can only jump so high. The width of your shoulders are the width of your shoulders, so you can only make your moment of inertia so small and rotate as many times as allowed in the air.
But I never, when I saw Usain Bolt run in the Summer Olympics and set those records, I never thought that what he did could be possible, yet he did it. So, I mean.
And look at what Simone Biles has done with the sport of gymnastics. And every generation with training can accomplish incredible things on just 1/8 of an inch of a blade.
I hope to live long enough to see all of these things, all these records get broken.
The quintuple axle.
Oh, can you believe? Or how about 6? Is there a word for that yet?
You're shooting.
I know, I'm too ambitious.
You're going too far.
I'll just keep it in the present. All right, Emily Kwong is the host of NPR Shortwave Podcast. Emily, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
That's Up First Winter Games for Tuesday, February 10th. I'm A Martínez. We'll see you right back here Wednesday and most days during the Olympic Games. Have a great day.